you're gonna find what you're looking for. Yeah, man, I don't remember how you came up on my Instagram feed, right? But that's when I was drinking all the time. And so I remember seeing the burpee guy online, and then we went on vacation, and we were gone for like 18 days, and I drank my face off the entire time. We get back, my wife was gone, I was home alone, and I was drinking a ton, and I had a rash on my ass from I know, right? Like, but it was from flying internationally, right? So we were on planes for like 27 hours. Oof. And so I went to urgent care because I have bad skin anyway, right? But I went in for urgent care, and they took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure came back at like a couple points away from where they hospitalize you. And she looked at me, and she's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I know what you're doing. And I went home, and I got an at-home blood pressure machine. And dude, I would be checking my blood pressure while drinking like cocktails. And but I bought some gym equipment, right? And I was like, I'm gonna get fit because I got kids and I don't want to die. And I did that for like a month. And then I had sent you a couple messages. Dude, I was like, Josh, I had sent you a couple messages and you had responded, but I'd send them at like 11 p.m. when I was shit-faced. And then the next day I'd be like, oh, I can't do it, you know? And then I decided, man, I gotta quit drinking because Stevie had left for the weekend. And the last day I drank was, I drink a fifth of scotch and a bottle of wine and like 2 beers. And woke up the next day, and I was like shitting straight yellow stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna die, like yeah. I'm not gonna make it long, and so I stopped, and 4 days later, I had a one-on-one with you. I mean, I remember the one-on-one that we had, the consultation call, and I was so scared, and I was like, is this guy real? Is this a bot? Is it going to be someone else, man? And you're driving down the road, and I don't know. We talked for like 10 minutes.
I remember. Yeah. I was driving down the highway. I was on my way to the grocery store. Yeah, I remember.
And so, dude, that's where it started, right? It started with like, okay, it wasn't even about sobriety at that point. It was about, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lower my blood pressure. I'm going to get healthier. And it went from that into like quickly. I remember I was on, I think my first group call was 30 days in to being sober and 30 days into the program. And like almost in that moment, that's where it clicked for me. Like, I have an addictive personality and everyone tells me to, well, just don't do that, right? Or you should like go get help on that. And like in that moment, it turned into, this is just what I'm gonna channel that into. So it started like, I wanna lose weight. I want to lower my blood pressure, then it became that, and what that all has turned into is just a fucking confidence builder. You know, like it's still about the workouts.
Yeah.
But it's just become something bigger in like a piece of my life, and I'm so confident in the changes that I've made and the people I surround myself with. And like, dude, I left my job after being there for 15 years, and they didn't appreciate me more, and I didn't want to be there anymore, and I don't think I ever would have done that, and I certainly wouldn't be sober without the program.
I love it. That's amazing, man, and I'm stoked for you, bro, because we talk about it pretty openly, candidly in our group calls and things like that, and in the community, but it is so much more than like fitness. You know, it's just the premise of building that solid foundation. You know, because when you show up for yourself and you actually build a level of physical and mental strength, and you really harness that like discipline, and you channel that addictive personality that most of us have into something that's relatively empowering. You just look at other challenges like, what else can I do? How far can I take this? Where can I really go if I don't stop doing this? And that was like basically word for word like what happened with me when I started this whole thing. You know, when I started getting my shit back together, and I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I started focusing on the food, I started training versus just exercising, and thinking about the overall health aspect of it versus just the vanity, I started to build all that momentum. And same thing, just like, where could I take this? Where would it go if I just didn't stop? And here we are, full-fledged, multi-7-figure business, a lot of clients that are doing their own business now outside of it and making bigger leaps and bounds in life and business and relationships. And it's just this awesome, community of growth and committing to excellence.
I think like what I've realized is like being successful or fitness in leadership and stuff like that, like on their own, they're all fine. And whenever I put some structure into my fitness and what I eat and just taking care of myself, it was like the missing piece of that puzzle, right? Because I had been successful at work and I'd led teams and I'd done some cool stuff. But I had never been as confident and fulfilled until I found, the fitness part of that and what it did for me mentally.
Yeah.
Changed my life.
Yeah. No, and I love it. That's what I want everybody to experience, not only do they conquer some of the parts about themselves they don't like, is they build a lifestyle and a version of them that they're like proud to be.
Yeah.
And it is really, empowering in a lot of different ways, where you just continue to almost seek growth in different areas. Whether, like we discussed, a business and relationships, like all these things. It just kind of magnifies areas of your life that you can make improvements on. And that missing link you speak about, like everybody knows that like bringing structure and planning and organization to a specific thing almost guarantees a level of success or progress. But no one ever really does it for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like it's always work related or relationship related. Like we show up for all these things, but this is what really helps you like show up for yourself.
Yeah.
And like once again, like bringing it back down to that foundational level, like you have to be in that version of yourself before you can really go out there and fulfill what it is, call it purpose, call it destiny, call it, dreams, ambitions. That version of you has to be at least somewhat in motion.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to think it was being selfish to take care of myself, right? And at work for years, it was, what are you doing for other people? And that's all, I think, well-intentioned and everything, but I think I've delivered more for my family, friends, and people at work as soon as I put myself first and took care of my health.
Yeah.
Dude, and my kids, they're your kids, right? So like they've always loved me, but like it's the look in their eye, right? Like since I have been taking care of myself and setting a better example for them, and not sneaking away to drink in my office, you can see the look in their eye, right? That they're proud of their dad. Oh, yeah. Man, and that just feels really good.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That
No, that's
really
awesome. And that's the thing too, building the life that you're proud of. Like a lot of us that had those traits, whether it was heavy drinking, smoking, binge eating, it was like an escapism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we felt like we had to like just like time out, and go self-soothe,
Yeah.
and now, like, you can still do that, but you do it in a much more productive way, right? Like you go fucking hammer in the gym for an hour or so. You go for a long fucking walk. You participate in something that does still, in a sense, possibly isolate you, but it's a growth activity versus like a destructive activity.
Yeah. It's been hard to explain to people who don't get it at times, right? Because it's like that 1 hour in the gym in the morning, right? Like, it just changes how I think and how I feel the rest of the day. So mental.
Yeah.
And that's just what it's become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can come in here and you can have a great workout or a shitty workout. You can hit PRs or you can get fucking flattened on the floor. But afterwards, you're always going to be better than when you started.
Yeah.
It's always going to be an improved mood or mental state versus like it not happening.
Yeah.
And I know like, at least for a lot of the men that I work with, right? Like we have to get up early as fuck in order to squeeze it into the schedule, squeeze it into the day, because we do have business, career, relationships, kids, you know, and as hard as it is to kind of drag yourself out of bed at that initial stage, it is so worth it.
Oh yeah.
You know, and now it's like I live for the early mornings. Like that's like my peace and quiet. Like, you know, like getting up at 3:30 or 4 a.m. and having that 2 to 2.5 hour head start, you know, on the day, so to speak, and like really getting to focus on solely like myself in that period of time.
Yeah. You know what, I like all of these new benefits just keep popping up. So like whenever I am out there working out, dude, I am so fucking creative, you know, and like the ideas that I get about what I want to do in business or life and, you know, tell my kids, like all of that just pours out, and I don't even have to try, like I don't even have to force it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's called flow state.
Yeah,
you know, like when you get into that like really good energy, you know, mental state, and like the creativeness, you know, that authentic voice really starts showing through. That's a huge part of it, dude. Like, and I'm sure now that we speak on it, you're gonna see it. You get on Instagram, you see a lot of these coaches or these fitness influencers, or these motivators. They're in their truck or their car spitting their whole fucking piece like right after the gym, because that's when they're in that state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I call it guy in car. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
they're all hyped up after a solid workout.
Yeah.
So they get on there and they get on socials and they're like, you know, telling their story or saying this or saying that, because that's when you're like the most elevated, right? Your frequency is elevated. You know, your mood's up, and it's the best time of the day in all sense. And if you can get that done early, then you just kind of carry that energy through the day. Yeah. You know?
Man, and there's been so many like different stages in this. So I remember whenever first started, right, like actually tracking macros and I'm weighing my food. And I remember we had some friends over, and one of them was like, "Oh, you're gonna weigh your steak," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna weigh it." And then he brought it up again, right? And it got to the point that I was like, this has no fucking impact on you. Like, why do you care? And you fast forward a year, and he's out there trying to lose weight and do all the same things. And it's funny how it freaks people out. It's just like getting self-confidence.
Yeah.
And it's awesome, and it's super empowering, and it'll take you far. And the people that you are surrounded by will be freaked out by it in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, because it magnifies their inaction to do any sort of necessary self-care. Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, like, we all know what we should be doing, but very few people actually do it. Yeah. You know, like everybody that needs to lose weight. Like they're like, I need to eat better. I need to exercise. I need to do this. You know, I need to do that. But very few people actually walk that line. So when they see somebody that's taking all the necessary actions, they're like, "You really gonna do that? You really gonna do that?" Like, yeah, I'm really gonna fucking do it. Like, because I've tried and failed. You know what I mean? And I'm tired of fucking having that, like wanting something, knowing what I need to do, and then now it's like I have the means to deliver the result. I just have to do the necessary work. Yeah. You know, because and like you said, when you plug in those things, right? Like when you have the system in play, when you have all the clear-cut action items, like this is basically everything that you need to do and focus on laid out for you in clear text. It makes it easy to just do. Yeah. And that's why, like, I encourage everybody who's getting started to work with a coach in some degree, so you can alleviate that stress of trying and failing, because it's like, how many people go online and they look up like the latest fad diet, or they check out some bodybuilder training routine or bodybuilder diet that has zero application to where they're at in their journey, and then they try to apply it for like 7 to 10 days, and they just are so overwhelmed that they quit. Yeah. You know, versus like having something that is like somewhat tailored to you, you know, like, hey, at least in this phase, do this, you know, and as it, you know, results and discipline and a level of compliance starts to increase, then we can tweak things in other areas and get a little bit more fine-tuned. Yeah. But just like having that clear-cut plan to follow is extremely important, because I needed it too. You know, like when I was getting back into like same thing, like rebuilding and refining myself. Like I needed the roadmap. I needed something to follow, you know, whether it was the level of accountability or just taking broad focus and narrowing it down into like, these are your 3 critical tasks, you know, versus like, oh, what, all this shit, you know, like I got to do all these things and it's overwhelming, you know, like most people are already dealing with so much, you know, mental stimulus and distractions that it's hard to even just focus on 3 concrete things.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like food, lift, water, sleep, do it again the next day.
Yeah.
Do it again the next day. Do it again the next day.
Man, and that was me. Like, I was afraid to commit in the beginning. So before I joined you, I did 1 month of another online program. And there was no one-on-one, there was no nutrition. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was like $40 or something, right? And I did that, and I think like it got me kickstarted. But what I know about myself is whenever I have a goal and I am bought in, I will run through a fucking wall to accomplish that goal. And on this one, I didn't know which wall to run through, right? I was like, I know I'm gonna have to run through a wall, but I don't know which one, and I don't wanna run through 5 to find out the one.
Right.
And so, man, that's why I'm so glad that I joined you, because it was that. And there's nothing complex. It's simple, but it's hard, right? Yeah. And it's simple, but hard. And I actually love that about it.
Yeah, and that's the whole premise, man, is like, it's so simple that most people think that there has to be more.
Yeah.
But the more is you just continuing to do the simple things.
Yeah.
You know, and building up that consistency and like compounding those efforts over time. Because it's like, look at you, like perfect example, right? Like we've been working together for coming up on like 2 years.
Yep.
We'll just ballpark it 2 years. And, you know, initially lost 40 pounds, got fucking shredded. And then now we've been flipping the script and like working on growing and actually building and understanding, you know, the lifts and the diets versus just doing it, you know, and your body composition and your whole stature and your whole mentality has completely changed.
Oh, night and day.
You know, and it takes time, you know, like it takes time. Like obviously people come to me and work with me for, you know, 6 and 12 month increments. But it's like the real change happens like when you actually continuously make it your lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
You know, because you can get some awesome results in 6 months, like you did in your first 6. You dropped like what, 40, 45 pounds.
Yep.
Got sober, fucking shredded. You know, but then it's like, what else can I do? You know, like you want more.
Yeah.
You know, and like having that little internal voice of like, where else can I take this? What else can I do with more discipline, you know, planning, structure, and execution.
Yep.
You know, and here we are fucking, you know, basically a year and some change from that trigger point, you know, and you're fucking 27 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking stacked, moving weight real well, and you got it down, dude.
Yeah.
And it's just committing to those simple things repetitively.
Yeah. You know, the community that's come with it. So, you know, last year my mom passed away, and I have close friends outside of Reliant, right? I had just as many, if not more people from Reliant reach out to me to make sure that I was doing okay. And that is a part that, man, I don't know, I never expected that. But it's been a really nice side perk.
Yeah, we got a lot of really good people on the team, man. It's been awesome to just watch it grow and see who it attracts and the people that actually get very involved.
Yeah.
You know, because don't get me wrong, dude, like there's plenty of people that sign up and never ever get involved in the community aspect, which is, I mean, fine if you don't want it, but I think you're missing out on a big part of what the program has to offer, you know, because there are a lot of awesome people, you know, and some of them have come by here. Some of you guys have obviously developed relationships and met up outside of training, you know, and it makes it fun, you know, because like for a lot of us, when we're going through that initial change, like that big abrupt change, and we're severing ties with all this shit, right? Like, whether it was the bad habits or the toxic relationships, the work atmosphere, there is a huge level of like loneliness and isolation. Yeah. But to like step into a place where everybody's on the same wavelength, so to speak. Everybody's working towards the same goal to some degree, you know, and it's like, hey, you know, come on over here with us. Like, we're all, the water's fine, you know? And we don't bite either. You just, you know, just stay away from him because he's been in a deficit for like 8 weeks. He might bite you.
He might.
But no, I mean, it's cool to have that. And that was like the massive benefit of building a community, right? Is like having that level of outreach and impact across, you know, a massive boundary. And not only, you know, delivering that for other people, but I kind of needed it for myself. You know, like I needed, you know, I was like, I need people in my corner who are going to basically, one, kind of hold me accountable, and two, develop something that's like that I basically lost. Because a lot of people, when they're going through that initial, especially with sobriety, the relationships are what's keeping them stuck. Because they go drink with their buddies, or they go drink with their wife or their girlfriend, you know, and that's like their outlet, you know, like that's their thing, you know. But it's like you remove that and they're like, well, what do I have? You know, but it's like, you know, dive into these relationships, dive into these activities, you know, become part of this team, this community, and those things will slowly slip away and you don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah, man, I found it as I committed more to the program and poured myself more into it, my tolerance for other people's excuses went way down. And my involvement in the group meetings and chatting to people went way up. Because, it was just surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
Oh, yeah. Dude, same thing. Like, I get around, and this is no offense to anybody in particular, but it's like, we go to, like, little outings or friends, family, or whatever, and I'm like, I feel like that dude in the corner, you know, like you see those memes all over Instagram, like these guys don't even lift, but it's like, it's not even that. It's like, I just feel like I can't connect with these people on the same level because they, you know, it's the same old song and dance, dude. They bitch about their job. They bitch about their boss. They bitch about their paycheck. And while they're sitting there fucking trying to drink it away, you know, but it's like, what are you actually doing to solve those problems? You know, because you can solve them, you know, but very few people, they just love to yap about it. And same thing. I can't deal with the excuses, the lack of action, the lack of course correction. And I even just tell my wife, I'm like, I'd rather just not go. Like, you can take the kids and go have fun with your friends, but I can't be in those atmospheres anymore for like longer than like 30 to 45 minutes before I want to fucking swallow a pistol. You know?
Same for me. Dude, so like how long's Reliant been a business? 3 years? 4 years?
A little over 3 years. So, I mean, I technically started it like August of 22. And then it really started like gaining some momentum like in December 22, January 23. That was like my first big, you know, spike in like client acquisition and a little bit more social media presence. And then it was just kind of a rocket ship from there with just like continuing to feed into it and, you know, finding a rhythm and a routine that works for me that I can maintain. You know?
What was the hardest phase so far?
The hardest phase, one, was the initial breakout of putting myself out there. Like filming myself, whether it was workouts or talking, being vulnerable, sharing things online to a world where like you would rarely get in a room full of 5 people and say those things, right? But it was almost like a freeing experience, right? Like I felt like I was like unloading like years of shit, trauma, baggage, you know, and it was kind of like a weight off my shoulders. And then the second hardest part was making the decision to walk away from the fire service and go full time in my business. That was terrifying, but awesome at the same time.
Was that, so like, had enough of the opportunity presented itself that you could do it, or had enough of the opportunity presented itself that you knew there was more there?
I knew that there was more there. I knew there was more there. I felt like I was basically splitting efforts, you know, so it's like somebody was going to get shortchanged. You know, like, so if I'm at the firehouse, clients are going to get ignored. If I'm trying to build my business, then I'm not going to be present as a fireman. You know, so, and I was already in kind of a unique situation where the business was generating far more than I was making as a firefighter. So I'm like, well, what would that look like if I basically doubled my time investment? You know, And that's basically what I decided to do. You know, I was like, I'll take a year off. I'll take the season off, go as hard as I can into my business and see what happens. And it just fucking exploded.
So did you have like the Reliant 3.0 3-year vision? You're like, this is what we're gonna do.
I mean, I had always talked about, you know, certain things like obviously metrics, right? Like, you know, first $100,000 month, first fucking $1 million, like these things, and like, you know, getting to a point where obviously I'm not just working to work, you know, but learning, like living and enjoying the process, you know. And it's been a fine tooth, right? Where it's like trying to build the business, but still at the same time, like be very connected with the why I started it in the first place, and just kind of having to sit down and re-identify those things every once in a while. And I've had a few people that that help me do that, because I'm like, dude, like I love this, but I don't want to be like on the phone every day chasing business, worrying about numbers, you know, like I want to do this for the reasons that I enjoy doing it. And that's like working with people and showing them this side of life, and like explaining the things that are misinterpreted or misunderstood, you know, in a lot of different areas of eating, performance, weight loss, etc. And also, you know, just being able to, perfect example, see people grow through the process, and like watch what they see they are capable of. You know, identifying that true potential. And that's what I love about this the most. And it happens, you know, I'd say the success rate at that rate, like for that grand of a transformation, is like very small percentage. I mean, everybody wins, right? Everybody wins, everybody makes progress, but like that full-fledged, you know, mental, lifestyle, career, relationship, it's like maybe 1 out of every 15 or 20, you know, which is...
That's still not bad.
It's still not bad. It's still not bad, but it's like, it's hard to do, because like, you know, it's you're leading, you know, but you can't make them do it, you know. It's like, it's not like I can lock you in my basement and fucking make you do all this shit for 6 months, you know what I mean? It'd be a much different program.
It'd be a very different program. It'd be a very different program.
You know, I think between obviously the format, the structure, the calls, the level of access I let my clients have to me when they need it, you know, like everything's there. You know, it's just a matter of them bringing themselves to execute consistently and reaching out if they truly need help.
Well, dude, if your why is to help people grow, you have to have the most satisfying job. Well, I mean, just because like, okay, so in the beginning, whenever I quit drinking, I posted a few things about that, and whenever I was losing all that weight, I do a little post on Instagram, right? And even I got a couple messages of like, hey, this is making me question what I'm doing in my life, and I'm trying to make these changes, and the feeling of just fulfillment and all of that like felt so good. And so if you're, dude, you get to talk to so many people, like that has to be super fulfilling.
It is. It's awesome, man. It's super awesome. And very blessed, very fortunate that it's even gotten to a place like this. You know what I mean? And that's what I have to like sit down and realize sometimes, because, you know, it's the balancing act of obviously being a business owner and then remembering why I'm here to do it are two completely different mentalities. In a sense, obviously the business owner wants to go out and crush and make a bunch of fucking money and be like, this is going to be our best quarter ever, you know, and then the coach inside me, the mentor, is like, focus on your fucking people, you know. So that dividing line is difficult sometimes, but I'm still learning, you know, like in this, like I don't consider myself a master of this. I'm a master of myself, which is the goal, right? Like I can control my outcomes by controlling the things that I do through the day, right? And going through the motions and the routines that we all practice now. But, you know, it's still very much learning how to apply those mannerisms and those habits in life as a business, as a father, as a fucking husband, you know. It's never ending learning, you know, always being a student.
So we've known each other for almost 2 years. You've seen me change my life, and you've seen me start Forge. Knowing what you know about your journey, knowing what you know about me, what advice would you give me?
I mean, I'd say the biggest thing, dude, is just remember that why.
Yeah.
You know, because there's going to be days where, you know, just like when you were starting out on the program, like you don't want to stick to the meal plan. You don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
You don't want to do those things. But then it's like the why that keeps you tethered to the goal is what makes you reach the goal. You know, and at first it's really hard because, like we were speaking earlier, you're putting out content, you're trying to create conversation, you're trying to get these people involved in your dream and have a level of buy-in.
Yeah.
You know, and some days it's going to be very defeating. You know, it's like, fuck, like putting forth all this effort and getting like very little return, like all this energy is being expelled and I'm not necessarily being like compensated, rewarded, anything. But you have to remember the why.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people get caught up in the stupid shit that doesn't matter, like the money aspect, the Instagram fame, you know, like likes, views, follows, which is easy to do, right? But it's like at the end of the day, like if you are truly in a particular space to serve and help grow and mentor, like remember that above all else.
Okay. I like that.
Because I mean, the thing that I always write, I have a little notebook that I pretty much almost journal in or write down like my primary tasks for the day. And the whole thing I write at the top, you know, elite service, relentless action. And those are like the 4 words that keep me going.
Yeah.
You know, like try to perform at an elite level every day and don't fucking stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. You know, it's been interesting. I've gotten some comments from some of my friends who follow me, right? And they're interested to see where like this leadership development, so they know leadership development well, right? Because they're my friends and we've worked together and we kind of lived in that world for a long time, but bringing in like some level of talking about fitness. I'm not a fitness coach,
Right.
but I do know the impact that it can have on your
Yes.
life. Man, I'm excited about that. And I think in the beginning, whenever I was thinking about Forge, that wasn't in my mind. And now it is very front of mind because I know the role that it played. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know that talking about it is where you start.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the elementary level, dude, like same thing. You don't have to overcomplicate
Yeah.
it. You know, like you could do something like just a protocol where it's like, hey, this is like the food groups that you should be focusing on. Like you could break it down to a very elementary fashion where it's like primary food groups. Here's like your training sessions and stick to this. You know, like this is building that foundation. And obviously, when you get to a level where this happens with very little friction, you don't have to think about it, then maybe we could dive into some higher level of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like that initial is like, it's just getting them to show up and do it, you know, because like that's where a lot of people trip out. Like on my program, they come in and they're expecting like this black magic workout training thing. And like, don't get me wrong, the workouts are great and the foods are great and the plans are great, but it's like, it's probably nothing you've never seen before. In a sense, it's just basically bringing you to do it, you know, and I try to be as polite about it as possible, but I'm like, hey, like phase 1 is basically like shut up and show up. That's it. You know, like don't think about it. Just do what's there. Don't try to make it make sense. Don't try to wrap your head around the philosophy of it right now. You will better understand it when you build a level of consistency and confidence in the actions you're taking. You know, and it's just right now it's just do.
I mean, part of the program for me is I'm just buying reassurance in a way that like I'm not crazy or I'm going the right path and in like that.
Well,
that's worth something
for sure. You know, like to know that you're putting forth that effort and it's going to lead to a result. That's huge. You know, for a lot of people too, because I'm sure you see it now, like, or at one point where you see, you know, I know you train at home, but you see people who say that they're exercising, or they say that they're working out, and they've been doing the same thing for months or years, and they don't look any different. You know, and then you go through like a structured program approach with a coach, and it's like, dude, you make like 10 years worth of progress in 6 months with the right plan.
I never would have done the variety of workouts and known how like rep counts and just all of that, right? I was always athletic growing up, but I didn't work out in a gym. So that's been awesome. And man, the food, like maybe I would have, you know, figured out some really great workouts or whatever. I never would have dialed in my diet, right? And so it would have been under there, maybe somewhere in some way. But like, I feel slow this morning just from going off the rails a little bit last night, right? So like, I never, that's just a part I never would have had. Yeah, without the program.
Yeah, I mean, and the food thing is in my mind the most important, right? Because that was
100%.
like that was the thing that I struggled with the most. Because same thing, former athlete, you know, always enjoyed working out to some degree.
Yeah.
But I could never find or develop a system or relationship with the food that I could stick to. So once I kind of really dove headfirst into like macros and the foods and like keeping it very, very simple in that nature and learning to reframe your mindset into like a performance-based eating versus like pleasurable eating.
Yeah.
It snowballed real fast.
Yeah.
And, you know, building those meal plans and delivering them for people, whether they fucking stick to them or not, it's like, hey, this is what's going to work, you know, and it's not flashy. It's not overcomplicated. You know, it's not something that you can't do. It's just learning to identify like, this is what needs to be done, you know, and just sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, I've said this to you probably 100 times. Dude, the impact that the program and Reliant, you, and everything you've created has had on my life. You've changed my life.
I love it.
So
That's what I'm here to do, bro.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. That's what I'm talking about,
Get
bro.
it.
Shit.
Look at that. We got some footage.
I know. I'm hoping
That was fun. Was it
that was
recording?
perfect.